Have you ever pushed yourself up from bed in the morning and felt that strange half-second where the world tilted slightly? Maybe your knees resisted, your lower back needed a moment to agree, or your first few steps felt like they belonged to someone else. Most people write that off as aging. But here's what's actually happening inside your body in that moment, and why a few people in Japan rarely experience it at all. In Japanese physical culture, there's a concept called Junbi undo. Loosely translated, it means preparation movement. The idea is simple but profound. You do not ask the body to perform until you have first prepared it. Not with a full workout, not with complicated equipment. Just a brief, intentional sequence that wakes the body up before you ask it to carry you through the day. Today, I'm going to show you 3 of those movements, specifically chosen for people over 50. And more importantly, I'll explain the science behind why each one matters, because when you understand why something works, you're far more likely to actually do it. Before we begin, drop your name and where you're watching from in the comments below. We love hearing from you. Here's something that might surprise you. That dizzy, unsteady feeling you sometimes get when you first stand up. It has a name. Researchers call it orthostatic hypotension, and it happens because of something very specific going on inside your circulatory system. The moment you stand, gravity pulls a significant volume of blood downward into your legs almost instantly. Your body has pressure sensors, called baroreceptors, near the heart and the neck arteries that are supposed to detect this drop and immediately signal the heart to compensate. When they're working well, this happens in seconds, and you never notice a thing. But here's the part that doesn't make the evening. News baroreceptor sensitivity declines with age. According to research, it's not a question of if, it's a question of how much. The older we get, the slower that signal travels, and the slower the heart responds. That brief moment of dizziness or unsteadiness, that's the delay, and it's not the only thing working against us first thing in the morning. While you were sleeping, your joints weren't moving, and when joints stay still for hours, the fluid that lubricates them, synovial fluid, slows its circulation. Think of it like natural oil that hasn't been stirred in 8 hours. Your spinal discs. Meanwhile, we're quietly absorbing fluid from surrounding tissues all night, making them slightly more swollen and tight by morning. And your muscles, especially the ones around your hips, were resting in a shortened, contracted position. So when you stand up suddenly, you're asking a body that hasn't yet distributed its joint fluid, hasn't yet reactivated its pressure sensors, and hasn't yet lengthened its overnight tightened muscles to perform one of its most mechanically demanding transitions of the entire day. That's a lot to ask, and here's what makes this especially relevant after 50. The same research that tracks baroreceptor decline also shows that muscle and tendon elasticity decreases with age. So the overnight stiffening effect that everyone experiences is simply more pronounced the older we get. Not because something is wrong, because something very normal is happening. And it just needs a little more preparation than it used to. That's exactly what these 3 movements are. Designed to do, each one targets a different link in the chain that connects your body to the floor when you stand. The first wakes up your ankles because balance begins at ground level, not at the knees. The second gently unlocks your hips, which bear more responsibility for a safe stand than most people realize. And the third combines your spine and your breath into one quiet, powerful reset that brings everything together before you rise. Move at your own pace throughout. If anything causes pain, stop and rest. These movements are gentle by design. Movement 1. Wake up your ankles before we talk about knees or hips. Let's go all the way down to where your feet meet the floor. Research published in the medical literature is clear on this. Ankle strength and range of motion decline meaningfully with age, and that decline is directly linked to an increased risk of falls. The reason goes deeper than simple weakness. It's about proprioception, which is your body's ability to sense where it is in space. Your ankles are packed with sensory receptors. They're constantly sending your brain information about your position, your balance, the surface beneath you. But after a full night of sleep, those receptors have been completely still. Before you ask them to process the complex balance challenge of standing, it helps to wake them up first. Remain seated comfortably, with both feet resting flat on the floor. Slowly lift just your toes, keeping your heels down. Then lower them, then raise your heels while your toes stay on the floor. Then lower them. Continue this alternating movement, toes up, heels up, slowly and deliberately. About 10 repetitions. There's no need to go fast or lift as high as possible. What you're doing isn't just moving to small body parts. You're signaling your nervous system. You're beginning to redistribute synovial fluid through the ankle joint. And you're waking up those proprioceptive sensors so that by the time your feet contact the floor and your full weight transfers onto them, they already have some idea of what's happening. Take a moment and notice whether your feet already feel more present, more alive than they did a minute ago. That's not imagination. That's your nervous system coming online. Now, let's move higher to the joint that most people overlook, and almost everyone over 50 underestimates. Movement 2. Unlock your hips. Ask most people where standing stiffness comes from, and they'll say their knees. Sometimes they'll say their back. Very few people will say their hips. But here's what the research tells us. The hip flexors, particularly a deep muscle called the psoas, connect your lumbar spine directly to the top of your thigh. When you sleep, especially on your side with your knees drawn up, this muscle rests in a shortened position for hours. By morning, it's contracted. And a contracted psoas doesn't just tighten your hip. It pulls on your lower back, compresses the lumbar vertebrae, and alters the entire mechanics of how you rise from a seated position. Your knees feel it. Your lower back feels it. But the origin is the hip. After 50, this compounds. Muscle elasticity decreases. Daily sitting, which most of us do far more of than we realize, shortens the hip flexors further and reduces circulation to the joint. The result is that stiff, locked-up feeling in the morning that too many people simply accept. Let's gently open that up before you stand. Remain seated with both feet flat on the floor and your back comfortably tall. Slowly shift your weight toward your left hip, just an inch or two, and then return to center. Shift gently toward your right hip and return. Do this several times, letting your pelvis move naturally without forcing anything. Then, when it feels right, begin making small, slow circles with your hips, first in one direction, then the other. Keep the range small. Keep the pace slow. Breathe normally throughout. What you're doing here is giving the hip joints their first real movement of the day. Synovial fluid begins to circulate. The psoas and surrounding muscles begin to lengthen just enough. And when you eventually lean forward to stand, the hips can begin to do their job, rather than leaving all the work to the knees and lower back. Pause for a moment. Notice whether sitting upright already feels a little easier. That ease is not accidental. Your hips just remembered how to move. Now let's bring it all together with the one movement that most people skip entirely. And that may matter more than the other two combined. Movement 3. Breathe and lengthen your spine. After a full night in one position, your spine has been still for hours. The muscles surrounding it, the deep spinal extensors, the core, the muscles across the back of the rib cage have been resting in a quiet, compressed state. And as we discussed, your spinal discs have actually absorbed fluid overnight, making them slightly tighter and more restricted than they'll be at any other point in the day. The mistake most people make is standing up through this restriction, forcing the body into upright posture before the spine is ready. The result is that familiar sensation of needing a few steps before the back straightens out, or worse, a sharp pull or twinge that starts the morning on the wrong note entirely. This third movement is both the simplest and the most powerful of the three. It's not just a physical reset. It's a breath-driven signal to your nervous system that the body is ready to transition from rest to motion. Remain seated, feet flat on the floor, hands resting on your thighs. Take a slow breath in, and as you inhale, gently lift your chest and lengthen through the top of your head, letting your spine grow a little taller. Then, as you breathe out, let your shoulders relax slightly, your chest soften, and your spine settle into that height you just created. Repeat this 4 or 5 times, breathing in and rising, breathing out and settling without rushing, without forcing, without trying to do anything dramatic. Then sit quietly for just a second and notice the position of your spine. Notice how the chair feels beneath you. Notice whether your breathing has slowed and deepened on its own. That shift is significant. You've just activated the muscles that will support your spine as you lean forward to stand. You've begun to mobilize the thoracic spine, the middle back region that tends to become the most compressed with age and the most neglected in daily life. And through the breath, you've also gently nudged your circulatory and nervous system into readiness for what's coming. You are, in the truest sense, prepared. Now let's stand. Bring yourself to the front edge of your chair, both feet flat on the floor, roughly hip-width apart. Take one slow breath in, and as you exhale, lean your upper body forward from the hips, keeping your back long, not rounded, and press evenly through both feet as you rise. Pause when you reach standing. Don't immediately walk away. Let your body find its balance for just a moment. Let your bariceptors register your new position. Let the weight settle evenly through both feet. Through those now awakened ankles, notice how that felt. Notice whether it was steadier, smoother, or more controlled than you might have expected. 3 movements. 1 quiet minute. That's the entire routine. First, your ankles, because the body's awareness of the ground begins there. And without that awareness, everything above is working blind. Second, your hips, because the transition from sitting to standing is a hip movement first, and preparing the hips protects everything connected to them. Third, your breath and your spine, because the body doesn't move well when the center is compressed, and a single intentional breath can change how an entire stand feels. You don't have to do these perfectly. You don't have to time them with a stopwatch. What matters is the intention behind them. The Japanese idea of Junbi undo, of preparing the body before asking something of it. Most of us have spent decades treating the first stand of the day like a switch being flipped, on in an instant, no preparation needed. But the body, after 50, works more like a well-made engine, not broken, not slow, just one that benefits from a moment to warm before it runs. Try this routine every morning for the next 2 weeks. Tomorrow, then the day after. Then, the day after that, pay attention to how your first steps feel on day 1 compared to day 14. Small, consistent habits have a way of adding up quietly until one day you realize you haven't had that unsteady morning moment in quite some time. Come back then and leave a comment. Tell me which movement made the biggest difference for you. Tell me how day 14 felt compared to day 1. Your story may be exactly what someone else in this community needed to hear. This video is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Move within a comfortable range and stop immediately if you experience pain, dizziness, or shortness of breath. If you have an existing health condition or a recent injury, please speak with your healthcare provider before beginning any new movement routine. If you found this helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. We share simple, science-informed wellness content designed especially for people who want to keep moving confidently as they age. Until next time, take good care, move gently, and have a beautiful day.